Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 295 based on novel. So let's start. If I had 100 more years, I could have completed the demon split spell. Unfortunately, this demonic sense is too weak and the main body has been devoured. This demonic sense is like a tree without roots and could dissipate at any time. The Cloud Demon Tower has collapsed, so I can no longer stay. I don't dare enter another demon country to absorb demonic energy. This demonic sense carefully flew forward, however, he was simply too weak and could be wiped from existence at any moment. While he flew in the sky, he was slowly dissipating. In the end, he was about to collapse, and even his memories became blurry. He was about to dissipate completely. Just as he was about to disappear forever, he vaguely felt demonic energy below him. The Soul Refining Tribe was right below him. There weren't many Soul Refining Tribe members back then, only a few 100,000 people. Most of them were spread out, looking for places with soul fragments. Only a few tens of thousands of people remained in the tribe's lands. These people were all worshipping a black stone statue feverishly. Demonic energy came out of their heads and surrounded the area. The demonic sense of the cloud demon that had dissipated too much and was moving only subconsciously charged at the black statue. The moment it entered the statue, it seemed to become alive, and the surrounding demonic energy began to gather toward it. As time passed, the cloud demon slowly settled down into the statue. He had lost too many memories during his escape, and the rest became blurry. He was not even the original body and was just a sliver of demonic sense. All the demonic energy coming from the Soul Refining Tribe members' worship was filled with thoughts of a person called Wang Lin. At the start, he resisted it, but when the number of Soul Refining Tribe members passed 1 million, he gradually felt like his name was Wang Lin under the constant worship of the tribe members, that he was their ancestor. He spent hundreds of years with such thoughts. As the Soul Refining Tribe grew to millions, the constant worship made him completely abandon his past, and now he thought he was Wang Lin. As he was changed, the statue slowly changed into Wang Lin's appearance. He also became Wang Lin inside the statue. Wang Lin raised his right hand and looked at the ancient demon that looked exactly the same as him. The strange light in his eyes became even stronger. Even he found what he saw unbelievable. Combining his own speculations, Wang Lin gained a detailed understanding of what had happened. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he stared at the ancient demon and muttered, "For an ancient demon to be sent to my doorstep, it would be a pity not to take it. Since even he thinks he is me, then just let him be my second avatar. My original body is an ancient god, my first avatar is a cultivator, and my second avatar is an ancient demon. I wonder if I can create a third avatar that is an ancient devil. At that time, when they all fuse, I wonder if I can revert back to the ancient order." Wang Lin's heart pounded as he looked at the ancient demon that delivered itself to him, and he smiled. His body flickered and he left the statue. His divine sense and cultivation returned back to his body. He looked at the black statue before him and his smile widened. He took a deep breath and sat down, placing his hand on his knees. Then he spat out essence origin energy that shrouded the stone statue before placing down restrictions on the statue. If he wanted to make this his second avatar, he had to refine it until it was one with his mind. He had to be able to manipulate it at will and it could no reject his origin soul. Instead, his origin soul should easily be able to replace it if needed. Although this sounds simple, in truth was extremely difficult. Although it could be done by force, it is only useful against puppets far weaker than himself. Even if it succeeded, it would be useless as an avatar. However, if it wasn't weaker than him, he couldn't use force. In conclusion, it became the first hurdle to overcome. Since he couldn't force it, he had to slowly refine it day by day and consume a lot of time for a low chance of success. However, even if it succeeded, there was still a flaw, there was still a chance the avatar would rebel. However, this wasn't a difficult matter for Wang Lin since this ancient demon already believed he was Wang Lin, so not much refining was required. All Wang Lin had to do was integrate his divine sense and make sure the ancient demon knew who the original was. This wasn't difficult for Wang Lin. He had a higher cultivation level than the ancient demon and he was an ancient god. However, Wang Lin was cautious in the remaining few days. Not only did he completely integrate his divine sense into the ancient demon, he also left an imprint on the seal. Also, he left a large amount of restrictions inside the avatar. If this avatar ever rebelled, Wang Lin could immediately subdue it with a thought. If he stopped here, it wouldn't be Wang Lin's style. In addition, he used some of Celestial Emperor Qing Lin's methods to control puppets on this second avatar. Only when he had absolute control did he relax. Looking at the stone statue before him, he felt as if it was one with him. It is a pity this second avatar has no physical body and must exist inside the stone statue. It can't separate from it for now, and if it attacks, it mainly uses the demonic sense. It's also very weak, only late-stage ascendant. However, this is a sliver of demonic sense. If it has enough demonic energy, it will grow and reach the level of an ancient demon. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He knew that he couldn't rush this and that he had to do this slowly. After dealing with the matter at the soul refining sect, Wang Lin didn't take the stone statue with him. Instead, he laid down some powerful restrictions and ordered the soul refining sect to continue to worship it. This second avatar is a seed. Right now, it's not of any use to me, but once it grows, there was a glimmer of anticipation in Wang Lin's eyes. Then his body flickered and he disappeared. Although the Sky Demon country had won the battle against the Fire Demon country hundreds of years ago, their casualties were too heavy. Even today, after hundreds of years, their population was far smaller than before. Even the most prosperous Sky Demon country capital, while not bleak, wasn't as bustling as when Wang Lin first arrived. There were still shops along the streets, but not many pedestrians. The few pedestrians only took a few glances at the shops before quickly leaving. There was a long river through the inner city that connected with the river in the outer city and formed a cycle. At this moment, Wang Lin quietly sat on the side of the river and watched the river flow. If a power could turn back time to hundreds of years ago, then you would find that he was sitting exactly where he sat before. At this moment, he was still the same person at the same position next to the same river, but there was no flower boat on the river and there was no zither music to flow into his ears. A trace of melancholy appeared in Wang Lin's heart as he looked at the empty river. It was as if he could hear the echo of the zipper music from hundreds of years ago. However, this music was very weak, as if the wind could cause it to dissipate and never be heard again. Thinking about it now, if not for drinking with the Demon Emperor for a night, Wang Lin probably would have never seen the face of the woman who played the zither. Even now, Wang Lin still only remembered her lonely figure and the zither music filled with sadness. Sitting there while watching the sunset, Wang Lin immersed himself in his memories. At this moment, he felt the passage of time. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of years had passed. It could wash everything but his eternal memories. Perhaps this is the tragedy of life. Wang Lin let out a sigh. Time existed because one had memories. If one had no memories, then there was no passage of time. I wonder if Mo Lihai is still around. There was a wine jug beside Wang Lin. This wine came from the same shop as back then. After generations, the label was still the same, but the wine. Wang Lin picked it up and took a sip. Even the taste has changed. Wang Lin bitterly smiled and put down the wine jug. Of course it changed. The descendants of that old man don't have the skill of their ancestor, so they can't recreate the same taste as before. A calm voice came from behind Wang Lin. It was filled with exhaustion. Wang Lin didn't turn around and let out a sigh. We haven't met in hundreds of years. The Demon Emperor isn't as carefree as before. A sigh came from behind Wang Lin. A middle-aged man wearing purple sat down beside Wang Lin. He was extremely handsome, showing a hint of what he once looked like. However, now he had strands of white hair and looked older. Drink it and try it. The middle-aged man took out a wine jug and handed it to Wang Lin. Wang Lin took it and drank a sip. He smiled and said, "It's the wine from back then. I knew you would definitely come back, so I saved a lot to drink with you." The middle-aged man waved his hand and another jug appeared. He took a big gulp before he smiled and said, Brother Wang, do you feel melancholy without the zither music from back then? The sound of the zither music slowly came from the distance, carrying a trace of loneliness and sadness. A moment later, a large ship came down the river. At the head of the ship sat the woman with her back toward Wang Lin, playing the zither. Wang Lin held the wine jug in his hand as he watched the gradually passing boat. The zither music entered his ears as if he had returned to hundreds of years ago. However, this zither music only had the sound without the charm from back then. The person playing the zither was no longer the blind woman from back then. After drinking a sip of wine, Wang Lin sighed. The demon emperor is caring. The middle-aged man didn't speak. The two of them just sat by the river and drank one jug after another. The sun set and the earth was shrouded in darkness. There was no moon tonight. The only thing that remained was the sound of the zither, and the flickering light formed the boat on the river. Time slowly passed, and the sun appeared over the east, making the darkness fade. At the side of the river, Wang Lin was surrounded by empty wine jugs. The middle-aged man looked at the wine jugs and whispered, "Lord Beilu already knows of Brother Wang's arrival. He sent me here to deliver Brother Wang a message." Wang Lin's expression was neutral. When the demon emperor came, Wang Lin had already expected this. After all, the demon spirit land was now ruled by Beilu. Every time he devoured another ancient demon spirit, he would become several times stronger. Wang Lin drank the remaining half a jug of wine in one gulp. If Brother Wang agrees to leave one spot open to enter the fifth cave, 4 out of the 9 countries will be gifted to the soul refining sect. Also, Lord Beilu will not interfere with any matters regarding the soul refining sect, even the remnant of the cloud demon's demonic sense. The existence of the black stone could deceive a lot of people, but it couldn't deceive ancient demon Beilu. The reason he didn't do anything for hundreds of years and let it develop in the soul refining tribe was all for today. Wang Lin looked into the distance and calmly said, "Okay." The middle-aged man stood up, clasped his hands, and said, "Brother Wang, I have completed the task Lord Beilu sent me to do. Now I have a matter I'd like to request your help on. My Emperor Sword Spirit is the daughter of a good friend of mine. However, due to certain difficulties, she couldn't escape death except by becoming my sword spirit. She has been trapped here for countless years and has never left the demon spirit land. I'd like to ask Wang Lin to take this spirit out of the demon spirit land so she can enter the reincarnation cycle or encounter other fortunes." The middle-aged man's expression was bleak as his right hand pointed at the void. A ray of sword energy came from the palace, and the Emperor Sword was inside the sword energy. Wang Lin pondered a bit before he slowly said, "Why don't you seek someone else?" The middle-aged man shook his head and calmly said, "Countless people have entered the demon spirit land throughout the years, but there were few who I could believe in. However, I still had the power to protect the sword, so I missed the chance." Wang Lin let out a sigh. When the demon emperor arrived last night, Wang Lin detected a faint death aura from him. The demon emperor's lifespan was about to dry up. Although the people of the demon spirit land lived longer than ordinary cultivators, they still had a limit. If there were no accidents, it wouldn't be 30 years before the demon emperor died. As an acquaintance, Wang Lin had no reason to refuse, so he nodded. The middle-aged man smiled and revealed a look of relief. He then waved his right hand and the Emperor Sword turned into a girl. Her eyes were filled with reluctance. If it wasn't for the fact that a sword spirit had no tears, her eyes would be watery right now. "Be good, and don't be so stubborn anymore." The middle-aged man looked lovingly at the girl as if he wasn't looking at a sword spirit but his own daughter. After letting out a sigh, the middle-aged man clasped his hands at Wang Lin and bowed. "Many thanks, Brother Wang." With that, he turned around and walked away. In a few steps, he was far away, leaving behind Wang Lin, who was holding a wine jug, and the girl, filled with sadness and reluctance. "Let's go." Wang Lin drank the remaining wine in the jug and placed it on the side. Then he stood up and walked into the air. The girl looked at the imperial capital with eyes filled with sadness. She understood that this would be the last time she saw the demon emperor who treated her like his own daughter. The limit of one's lifespan was something that couldn't be changed. Filled with sorrow, her body turned into green smoke and returned into the Emperor's Sword. She let out a sad sword hymn and followed behind Wang Lin. The Emperor's sword was like a ray of silver light that followed Wang Lin. As Wang Lin moved forward, he waved his hand and put the sword inside his bag. Then he spread out his divine sense before taking out the celestial cave token and disappearing in a flash of golden light. In the fourth cave, with Sichu Nan leading the charge, they continued to break the restrictions inside. There were too many restrictions in the cave, and as they broke them, items that belonged to celestials appeared before them. With Sichu Nan and company's cultivation, it wasn't difficult to break these restrictions. They charged directly toward the center of the cave. However, the power of the restrictions here had almost reached a peak. It was not something that could be broken with cultivation alone. Instead, you'd have to understand the restriction to break it. At this moment, there was a flash of golden light on the platform outside the cave, and Wang Lin appeared. He didn't hesitate and rushed directly into the cave. Along the way, he saw all the broken restrictions. Aside from the few at the entrance broken by others long ago, the rest were all broken by Sichu Nan and company. Shortly after, Wang Lin saw Sichu Nan and company. The three Chen brothers were sitting there cultivating with white gas surrounding them. It was obvious they had wasted a lot of energy breaking a restriction and were recovering. Big Head was next to the three Chen brothers. What surprised Wang Lin was that Big Head had some unexpected talent in restrictions. He was leading Lei Ji in calculating how to break a restriction. Master Hollow Wind had also studied restrictions, so he became the main force in breaking them. As for Sichu Nan and the woman in silver, they became responsible for any retaliation that might occur once the restrictions were broken. Wang Lin slowly arrived and immediately caught the attention of everyone. Sichu Nan had been here for several days and was already impatient. The restrictions around him made him dizzy as he only knew a little about restrictions. In his view, no matter how strong the restrictions were, as long as his cultivation level was high enough, he could break it. However, because he was in charge of dealing with the changes that might occur after a restriction was destroyed, he couldn't leave. Otherwise, with his personality, he would have already charged ahead by himself to break the restrictions. When he saw Wang Lin return, Sichu Nan's eyes lit up and he laughed. "You finally came back. I'm about to be bored to death here. This celestial cave isn't big, but it's not small either. We headed straight here, but there might be treasure elsewhere. I'm going to explore first." With that, he didn't even wait for Wang Lin to reply. He walked into a bamboo forest on the side and disappeared. With Sichu Nan's cultivation, Wang Lin wasn't worried about him. As for the poison, the two of them had spent some time and had come up with a method to temporarily suppress it without the need for a female cultivator. Worst case scenario, Sichu Nan would just be trapped and Wang Lin could rescue him later. Without stopping, Wang Lin arrived next to Master Hollow Wind and looked ahead. There was a small, flowing river 100 steps before them, and there was a thin layer of mist around it. There was a stone bridge that connected the sides of the river. This stone bridge was the only entrance. "This place is very strange. We have already been blocked here for 5 hours. No matter how I calculate, I can't seem to get a clue of this restriction. However, I have a feeling that if we open it by force, it will cause an unimaginable chain reaction, so we can't use force." Master Hollow Wind nodded at Wang Lin and explained in detail. He feared Wang Lin didn't know much about restrictions and would demand to open it by force. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as his gaze fell on the stone bridge, and he didn't speak. This celestial cave is double-layered, and we are at a junction where the inner and outer layers connect. Once we pass this river, we will enter the inner part of the celestial cave. The restrictions here are too complicated, so we can't get past them in a short period of time. Big Head suggested that we don't cross the stone bridge but break the side and enter through the river. Master Hollow Wind spoke as he glanced at the Big Head, whose eyes were flashing as he gave an order to Lei Ji to throw punches at the restrictions ahead. Master Hollow Wind frowned as he looked at the river and said, "The three Chen brothers have consumed too much and are recovering. Fellow cultivator Sichu's plan was to wait for them to recover and we break it with our combined forces. I still have my reservations about that method." In his view, Wang Lin couldn't have cultivated for a long time. He had learned a few things about Wang Lin. To reach such a cultivation level in just over 1,000 years of cultivation is inconceivable. I'm afraid this Wang Lin doesn't know much about restrictions. After all, he hasn't had the time to master restrictions. It will have to depend on me and Big Head. Master Hollow Wind sighed inwardly. He knew his restriction abilities weren't very strong, and while he could handle the restrictions on the outer layer, he was already feeling like he was losing control at this junction. Wang Lin looked at the stone bridge and couldn't help but frown. No wonder Master Hollow Wind was stuck here. It was indeed as he said, if it was broken by force, the chain reaction would be unimaginable. I'm afraid this is the first hurdle to enter the inner part of the celestial cave. Although the 100 step before them looked ordinary, aside from what Master Hollow Wind said, Wang Lin noticed other potential threats. The restrictions here were very different from those in the outer layer. I need to experience it to see if it is as I suspect. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he slowly said, "Silver corpse." The woman in silver's eyes narrowed and she moved next to Wang Lin. Her intelligent eyes stared at Wang Lin, waiting for his order. Wang Lin didn't look at the woman in silver. He looked at the stone bridge and calmly said, "Advance 10 steps." Master Hollow Wind couldn't help but frown. This was the most unwise move to him. The restriction might be activated just like this. However, he only looked at Wang Lin without speaking. Instead, he took a few steps back and began to observe. At this moment, even the 3 Chen brothers opened their eyes. As they cultivated, the celestial spiritual energy entered their bodies. After frowning a bit, Master Yi Chen got up and said, "Fellow cultivator Wang, this matter is improper. Although I don't know much about restrictions, even I can see the hidden killing intent here. If we are going to open it by force, it is best to wait for us to recover so we have a higher chance." "No problem." Wang Lin waved his hand and interrupted Master Yi Chen. Wang Lin's command was absolute to the woman in silver. She didn't hesitate to enter that 100-step area. The moment her right foot landed, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. The woman in silver didn't stop and immediately took the next step. She had taken 9 steps in a row. The moment her 10th step landed, ripples appeared within the 100-step area and a faint mist appeared within the area. The mist quickly shot toward the woman in silver. In addition, as everyone watched, the 100-step area before them twisted as if there was a power tearing it. Wang Lin's eyes flashed rapidly as he calculated like crazy in his mind. He calmly said, "Attack with a spell to the left, then retreat back." The silver woman immediately obeyed. Her right hand flashed and turned into a rune that suddenly landed on the left. There was a bang as if a storm had swept by the area. The mist was all blown away and even the ripples disappeared. The woman silver calmly retreated outside the 100 steps range. Master Hollow Wind was startled by this, and his eyes shined brightly. Not only him, but even the 3 Chen brothers were startled, and they looked at Wang Lin with strange expressions. Without giving them too much time to think, Wang Lin stepped forward and leaped ahead. He landed where the woman in silver's 10th step was. As I expected, the restrictions here are very different from the outer ones. Although the changes to the restrictions near the river are endless, they only take one form. One is the dirt and the second is water vapor. Flashes of deduction appeared in his eyes as he continued to calculate. All the restrictions within the 100-step area slowly formed in his mind. Wang Lin had learned restrictions in the land of the ancient god, and he continued to improve them for over 1,000 years. Then, in all heaven, he inherited the annihilation restriction. Although the restrictions were strong, Wang Lin was not the same as he was in the past. Although his growth in restrictions was not as fast as his cultivation, it was still very fast. Wang Lin knew that his talent in cultivation was lacking, but he had amazing comprehension when it came to restrictions. This was something Wang Lin became aware of at the land of the ancient god. Having cultivated until now, Wang Lin had seen through it all. One's talent in cultivation was how sensitive one was to spiritual energy. The more sensitive one was, the better their talent. However, restrictions had nothing to do with one's sensitivity to spiritual energy. Restrictions all depended on one's calculations and deductions. It depended on one's mind. Wang Lin wasn't lacking in the mind, and his growth was almost superhuman in this regard. Otherwise, he couldn't have walked so far in his 1,000 years of cultivation. He stood at the 10th step and looked ahead. The restriction light in his eyes formed a storm, and in a flash, everything before him changed. The originally calm 100 steps contained 39,714 restrictions in total. These restrictions weren't independent, but all connected together. If one was activated, everything would activate with it. If it was Wang Lin before he learned the annihilation restriction, he would have found this a headache and wouldn't dare to carelessly step inside. He would have to wait outside and deduct more than 30,000 restrictions before he dared to attempt to crack them. However, Wang Lin's knowledge on restrictions had reached a completion, and he had inherited the annihilation restriction. He had also obtained the heart restriction, which was the peak of the annihilation restriction. Everything in the world could be trapped by restrictions. A universe could be contained in one's heart. Just one movement from one's heart could cause endless restrictions to form. While he deduced, he lifted his feet and walked 10 more steps. The restrictions within the 100-step area immediately activated as if a stone was tossed into a lake, setting off a chain of ripples. The power coming from the ripples even shocked Master Hollow Wind. Celestial restrictions are indeed intricate. I wonder how the All-Seer and Ling Qianhu broke the restrictions in their cave. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He didn't stop and continued to walk forward. Sand appeared within the 100 steps, as if it had become a desert, and covered the area. The sand and stone formed a storm and roared. The storm shot directly at Wang Lin. Outsiders couldn't see this, but Master Hollow Wind and company were all-powerful cultivators. They didn't need their eyes, they used their divine senses to see the shocking impact within that 100-step area. Wang Lin's expression didn't change. The moment the storm charged at him, he lifted his right hand and a restriction flew out. This restriction landed on the storm and made it collapse immediately. However, the storm was simply too big, it seemed to cover the world. Although it collapsed, it didn't affect the power of the storm. But the point of the collapse was on the lower part of the storm, right where Wang Lin was. As a result, the collapse continued, and Wang Lin walked through this storm. This simple restriction was something Wang Lin had learned after calculating countless times. The time, location, and size of the restriction all had to be perfect, or he couldn't produce a collapse just big enough for him to pass. Although it looked simple, it was not something ordinary people could do. Master Hollow Wind's eyes shined brightly as he stared at Wang Lin. He gasped as he was aghast at what he saw. He just couldn't believe that Wang Lin, who had only cultivated for such short period of time, had this much ability in restrictions. His calmness isn't fake, he is truly calm. I fear he has already deduced all the restrictions inside. He isn't going to break through by force, he will use restrictions to break restrictions. The three Chen brothers gasped and looked at each other. They respected Wang Lin even more in their hearts. After piercing the storm, Wang Lin moved even faster and walked 90 steps. He was only 10 steps away from the stone bridge. Just at this instant, the storm disappeared, but water vapor appeared and the sound of waves could be heard. In Wang Lin's eyes, the 100-step area suddenly turned into an ocean, and the angry waves smashed down on him. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He was waiting for this moment. The moment the angry waves smashed down on him, Wang Lin's right hand hit his bag of holding and an item appeared in his grasp. This was the heart compass that the inheritor of the heart restriction had to have. Holding the compass, Wang Lin stood straight. The waves hit his clothes, and his long hair drifted backwards, making him look like a celestial. His left hand moved over the compass and crackling sounds came from the compass. Then it began to rotate. Wang Lin's left hand became like a shadow as he continued to move, and his eyes flashed. Without pausing, he took a step to the left. He then moved several feet in one step and dove into the angry waves. However, the moment he closed in on the angry waves, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He shook the compass in his hand and a large amount of restrictions flew out. Break! As Wang Lin shouted, the compass that flew out released a black glow. The restrictions around it rumbled as they pushed outwards. In an instant, the angry waves collapsed as if they had become obedient and shattered inch by inch before Wang Lin. The moment the waves disappeared, a scream came from inside the celestial cave and echoed throughout the cave as a sound wave. There was indeed someone controlling the restrictions. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. When he saw the restriction for the first time, he felt that something was wrong. The restrictions in the outer layer were all dead restrictions with no one controlling them. They all changed according to a rule and moved according to it. However, the restrictions within the 100 steps were different. He had the vague feeling that someone was controlling them. This was why Wang Lin had the female corpse enter 10 steps to probe. After observing the changes in the restrictions after advancing 10 steps, Wang Lin was certain his guess was correct. At this moment, he walked forward with the compass in his hand and stepped on the stone bridge. He then looked at the celestial cave before him and calmly proceeded forward. The cave of a celestial would not be simple, Wang Lin naturally knew this well. I just don't know what is inside the depths of the celestial cave to control the restrictions to prevent outsiders from entering. Master Hollow Wind revealed a gaze of admiration as he, the 3 Chen brothers, and Big Head quickly followed. Wang Lin stood on the bridge and carefully looked at what was before him. The inner part of the celestial cave was like a garden with flowers everywhere. Although it was a celestial cave, the colors gave anyone who looked at them a feeling that it was a mess. For pavilions carved from jade were on the sides, with a huge palace in the center. It had dragons and phoenixes carvings decorating it, along with other celestial beasts Wang Lin didn't know of. This gave this palace a sense of celestial might. In addition, there were 10 golden statues outside the palace. The 10 statues were all wearing armor as if they were celestial soldiers. Xian gold. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as all 10 of these golden soldiers were made of Xian gold. This Xian gold was one of the key ingredients to strengthening the body of a celestial guard. A terrifying aura came from the depths of the dark palace and surrounded the area. This video will end here.